than he was up the other end, and he is warned. I call the member for Eden-Monaro.
Right, thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. And there's no issue that symbolises the utter public policy failure and deficit of this government than our energy policy, demonstrated by also those in charge of the portfolio correctly, as my friend the member for Chifley points out. But this also is an embrace of post-truth politics par excellence as well. We've had the key factors in this energy issue outlined by my colleague, the Shadow Minister, and he's talked about the gas issue. And of course, we can also hark back to the gas contracts executed under the Howard and Costello regime, which failed to provide a national interest test in developing our gas resources and gas reservation, which has created the cost dynamic that's had a large effect on this energy market. Also, the privatisation dynamic created by the coalition. We talk about Hazelwood. Well, this is a business decision that's been made in France and Japan based on purely business factors. And that is what you've surrendered. You've surrendered the national control. Now, the secret here is that we have a national energy market. The clue is in the title. A national energy market requires national responsibility being taken and supported by national leadership, which has been completely absent. We have had nearly 4 years now of this government sitting back, fat, dumb and happy, sitting on its hands, taking no action to manage the transition we all knew was coming and was happening. And no less of a factor in that transition was the renewable energy target agreed upon and set by this government. And the truth about the wind farm capacity in South Australia is that that wind farm capacity was built pursuant to that renewable energy target. And that's the truth of it. That's what Mr Price, your former advisor, has advised the public, has revealed the truth to the public. The other factor has been this policy uncertainty vacuum that you have created. You tore up a national framework that we put in place that has been a model that Conservative governments around the world have embraced. You know, David Cameron was happy to do it, Angela Merkel, Arnold Schwarzenegger was happy to do it, but not you. Not you. We were the ones who had to embrace the forces of the market, and you were the ones that embraced the command economy approach, you know, the happily North Korean path down the track to national ruin on energy policy. And what's also missing was a plan for grid management and also transition of that grid. Now, if you want to know what a plan looks like, this is a plan. This is a plan of 41 pages of detailed substance and thought, which deals with that exact issue of grid management, spelled out in the electricity modernisation review process that we intended to put in place. Now, what also amazes me in this post-truth politics is, of course, the Prime Minister turning up to the Snowy Hydro scheme, and suddenly, after months that we have had of vilification of renewable energy, all of a sudden the Prime Minister is standing in front of the granddaddy of renewable energy projects in the country. Suddenly he's embraced this as a solution to our power problems after vilifying it all this year. And the incredible irony of this, of course, is the Snowy Hydro scheme was a great Labor project instituted by the Prime Minister, Ben Chifley. Now, I'm very proud that my great-grandfather, who stood for the seat of Eden-Monaro in 1940, in one of his speeches in September of 1940, advocated for the Snowy Hydro scheme, said, "Why is this government doing nothing about it?" That was in 1940. And why? Because there were national security implications around that as well while we're in the midst of the Second World War, and it's instructive that the Chifley government used the defence power to kick the Snowy Hydro scheme off, taking national security responsibility for a national energy issue. Of course, the other irony about that was not only did we have to do that, the coalition at the time, the Country Party as it then was and the Liberal Party, opposed the scheme, opposed it when it was announced in 1949, and of course boycotted the launching ceremony at Abitibi in that year. Nobody was there. Who was there? Governor-General McKell, Labor appointee, Prime Minister Ben Chifley, the Labor member for Eden-Monaro of the time, Alan Fraser, the Labor member for the state seat of Monaro, George Seifert, not a Liberal or National Party politician to be seen. And of course, the irony also of this is that the Snowy Hydro scheme pumping operations now at the Tumut 3 station are powered by contracted power from South Australian wind farms. The ultimate irony. And of course, that is how they would move forward with the grander pumping operation once it's completed, contracting renewable energy sources in off-peak periods to pump that water. So this is a scheme worth getting behind. We have to see, of course, real money being put behind it. But you need to give up your hypocrisy. You need to come up with a plan. You need to serve the interests of this nation instead of lying to the public.
Has expired.